Today's episode is a very special one because it is the 1 year anniversary of us doing our first game review release on the channel. And really appreciate all of you who watch and particularly the ones who subscribe. And as a commemorative moment of our 1 year anniversary, we've got some branded red and yellow cards. I'll show you the yellow one, but because of my green screen settings, it's making it see-through. But trust me, I've got a red and a yellow one here with the logo that we created on it. The first 25 verified subscribers that send me a message either on our Reffing with the Sappers channel on Instagram or send me an email at reffingwiththesappers@gmail.com and just include your name, your mailing address, and your YouTube handle so I can verify that you're a subscriber, and we'll send a set of these to you in the mail. If you'd like to buy any extras, I do have some extras, and I'm going to try to sell those at $8 a piece. Would be happy to sell some. We don't make any money off the channel, so I'm mostly just trying to recoup a little bit of cost here. But yeah, we're not getting rich off of this at all. If you really want to help the channel, just share it with your friends, like and subscribe, help us get the word out, and we enjoy doing these. So let's get this game going. Welcome back to another episode of Reffing with the Sappers. Today we've got a very special episode. We got Nathan Salimi joining us for the first time to review a game of his. I heard about a game that happened in our area where there was a mass confrontation, and then one of my reffing buddies actually sent me video of it, and I said, we have to do that game. So reached out to Nathan. So Nathan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, yeah, it was definitely an interesting game. I appreciate you having me on. And I've been roughing for about 6 years. I grew up playing club. I played college. Yeah, it was just definitely an interesting game. So it's Granite Bay versus the Blackhawks. And this was on April 7th, U19 boys. So pretty physical game.
Let's get the game going.
All right, so this was the first minute of the game. The ball bounced down and right in front of me there, hit his hand. Everyone kind of saw it. He could see, if you click play, you'll see he shakes his head like, oh, yeah. And it was a really obvious one. Everyone saw right away. So this was the 6th minute of the game here. It was a bit of a push on the back. You can go ahead and play it there. Green steps in front of the ball to get it. And so from my point of view, the first contact right there could have been called a foul, but from my point of view, again, it was the start of the game, and to give a foul like that when Green is aggressively throwing himself in front of the ball at the start of the game, I'm not going to give a free kick just outside the box like that.
When you're 6 minutes into the game, you haven't had anything that's been chippy, right? You've had one handball that was
one
obvious,
handball.
right?
This is the first potential push of the game, and it wasn't something where a lot of the times I'm not super quick to call it because I'll look at this level to see if there's any sort of advantage. And for one, this wasn't a point where it was too harsh of a contact to call a foul, as well as Green still had the possession here at the end of it.
We see it, 29 picks it up there, and
then they're going for it. Yeah. So a few minutes passed, and the next play here is on the defensive end for Granite Bay. It's the 8th minute of the game. If you want to go ahead and click play. From my point of view, this one right here is a shoulder-to-shoulder play. Right here, when the point of contact, it could be argued it was a little bit behind by the gray player, but like I like to say, I like to wait a second at this level to see how it plays out, give it a half second or second, and if you click play again, you can see that he gains his footing and kicks it out of bounds.
When I first saw this, I thought it might have been a missed call, but you watch everybody's body language. Absolutely nobody's calling for a foul there. So, and there we paused it. They looked shoulder to shoulder, so it seemed like what the players were expecting.
Yeah, so I didn't call that one. All right, 13 minutes of the game, and we have Granite Bay attacking here, and Gray pops the ball up, and you can see it hit the Granite Bay player's wrist right there. Yeah. You can see it would have continued upwards. And
it's hard with this angle, you can't really see it.
I'm not even sure that I saw it right away, to be honest. I definitely, my AR side, if you click play here, I can't recall if it was specifically I saw it or it was my AR might have seen it the same time as myself.
Now, a little tip for assistant referees. One, he just pops his flag straight up, which is normally an offside call, right? So I think when I was watching this video, I thought, that's not offside. I rewatched it a few times until I saw the handball. So normally you'd want to see it waved in waving it for a foul. But the other one is his flag really ideally would be in his right hand so that he can see you, make eye contact with you. With
in his left hand, it could potentially block his line of sight to you. So, just little tips. I mean, this is really straightforward and also really good teamwork by the crew, because you would have been blocked from that handball and he had the perfect position.
So a few minutes pass. This is the 15th minute of the game. Gray's receiving the ball and taking a touch for it up the line. Gets it around the player. Player's not happy. Granite Bay pulls him down. I think that was a pretty obvious one. I quickly blow my whistle and point the direction
They
that it's supposed
they don't
to go.
get much easier than that one.
So 16th minute of the game. Next up here, Gray's getting the ball. And I see that Green's going from behind him here. The first one, I feel like, is a bit of a push in the back, and the second one is what really warranted the foul to me. It was just all the way through him from behind there. And I was quick on my whistle here. No one really questioned it.
I know when I first watched this on video, I was wondering if right there, if Green had gotten that ball and maybe it shouldn't have been a foul. But then as we kind of watched it in slow motion, you see that I guess it would be his left leg, he brought it through the backside of that player. So
yeah.
Was...
And if you hit play and continue right here, you'll see me about 2 seconds later. Yeah, right here. It was his first foul, and I'm telling him, look, calm down, right? You don't need to be going through him from behind there, giving him his first verbal warning of the game.
Yep.
All right, so we're at the 19th minute of the game next. In between clips here, there was a goal scored, nothing to warrant reviewing, but just a simple goal. So Gray's got the throw in, throws it to his player, who tries to pop it over, hits Green in the face first right here. And then the second part here was where I called a handball. Was from my point of view here, he might have stuck his foot out, but he stuck his arms out in an unnatural position there.
Yeah.
That would, when it hit his elbow, it popped right up and over and would warrant a handball, in my opinion. All right, next up here is a bit of a tricky one. At real time, we're at 20th minute here. Granite Bay has the ball. At real time, based on my position, I originally thought this was from behind. Quick speed, you could argue it's from behind. But when we slowed down the play and really looked at it, we realized that right about here, Gray gets the ball before Green goes down. And yeah, it's definitely, in slowed down, it's definitely argued that Gray gets the ball here.
Yeah, I think that I can totally understand why your angle on it on the field, you would have called that. But I don't see a foul between them. It looks like he's trying to pull up. I don't see him pull that left leg forward, and it kind of looks like that right leg, he gets that kick on the ball, and you just get that quick, a lot of momentum going into the ball, and then Six gets his foot in front of it, and that looks like that's what actually sends him down.
Yeah, definitely a tricky one that's at a fast pace. But once slowed down, I think we can realize that he got the ball.
Unfortunately, on the field we don't have
we don't have
VAR on the field. But we'll take the deduction on this one and keep going on the game.
So immediately off the restart of that last one we were just looking at, Green's got a breakaway here to the left side of the box. It's the 20th minute, and Gray stops him really abruptly, really quick.
At first, I wondered if there was like a push here, but. And even if he had gotten the ball, but the ball stopped dead right at his feet. And, watching their body language, I don't see anybody getting up looking to, argue. So I think it was probably just more of his momentum was shifting after the contact. And
yeah. All right, so next we're in the 21st minute of the game. It's a bit of a controversial one here. But the keeper's jumping up to get the ball, and Gray's jumping up as well, and the keeper loses his footing, and I give the foul. It could be argued this could be a yellow one here. So from my perspective on here is the Gray wasn't looking to get him because it was this guy's first foul of the game. Gray wasn't looking to get him, and he was just jumping up in the air. And the game was pretty calm up to this point for a U19 boys game. So I just gave the foul and moved on from there. But reflecting on it, it definitely could have. At this point of the game, it could have been a yellow to pull out.
I can understand why you're 20 minutes in. We've had 9 decisions, and none of them have been egregious, right? Mm-hmm. But I do think, just me looking at this, when I watch this player is coming from a distance, and this keeper is pretty clearly going to get this ball. And so, yeah, I see what you're saying. He's looking up at the ball. But he also, it's not like he didn't see the keeper either. So I feel like I probably would have gone yellow here. Mm-hmm. It is very good. If we flash forward a few seconds here, you definitely talk to him. Kudos in there, but I still feel like just watching it, I think it probably should have been a yellow at least for me.
Yeah. It definitely wouldn't have hurt to give it at this point to keep the level of the game down.
Let's go ahead and let's take the half-point deduction on this one.
You can go the full one. I'll
we'll go the full one.
Yeah, okay. So right following that, I think it's like the same minute, 21st minute. Keeper kicks out the ball here, or they got a distribution, and it hits Gray's arm here. And from my perspective, it was pretty obvious. He had his left arm extended, hit his arm, and dropped down. Called it pretty quick there. So following that one, it's where the 23rd minute here, there's a pass over here to Gray, and Green gets in front, and just a little bit of a clip here. It almost looks like it doesn't happen, but he clips him. Yeah. Almost made him do the splits there.
At first, I thought it might not have been a foul, but then, he knows. He's getting back in position.
All right, next up here, we're in the 23rd minute of the game. Bit of a pop-up here to Green. Green's going to get the ball first here and send a through ball, and Gray's not even looking at him.
Yeah, he doesn't even, doesn't do anything to try to play it.
Goes straight through him, and I believe this was the first yellow card of the game.
Yeah.
If I'm correct here, this is where I pulled out my yellow card, and I was like...
He's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
I was like, what? It wasn't me? But that was a pretty obvious one to me. So we're in the 29th minute, about 6 minutes past. There's been a goal for Green, and then here's Green is dribbling the ball. He loses possession, has to take 3 or 4 steps to try and get to it, and Gray gets there first, and Green kicks him right there. You can see it.
And
then I called it here for the Gray team. So next up here, we're in the 32nd minute. Gray's got possession, and Green does a good job here of bodying him off the ball. He gets the ball, and then turns it, and right here he loses possession. And he's a bit frustrated here, I can tell, and he scissor kicks him. This is an interesting one because it is from behind. It's a definite scissor. So my thought process here, it's a pretty calm game up until this point. It's definitely a yellow card, so I immediately pull out my yellow card and I book him for that. Red potentially could think because it's from behind. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's good to at least go through the thought process of considering the red. I don't think watching it in real time, given the temperature of the game, and you've had one yellow and you've had that one foul that maybe should have been a yellow. Yeah. I don't know. His cleats aren't like up and going into an Achilles here. His cleats are kind of at this moment in front of his feet, and he's just kind of catching his legs. He meant to commit a foul, but he also didn't go in with a straight leg clearing where he's going to break something either. So I'm comfortable with the yellow. I think it's good that you considered a red. Definitely good that you yellowed it and talked to him. You guys let us know in the comments. Let's play it back here real time. Let us know in the comments, do you think this should be a red? Couple more minutes go by, and looking at this game here, we're going to see the ball go over, and this player's going to one-time it right there, and then we got an offside decision. So the second to last defender is the one on the other side. You see the back of 29, but the second to last defender is actually this player behind him. And it looks like he's just standing, like 1 foot outside of the penalty area. And we can see that our attacker is, yard and a half, maybe 2 yards onside. But this player's moving up, that player's going over, and it looks like our assistant referee went ahead, and once he gets involved here, goes ahead and calls that off. But looking at this video, I think it's a missed call on that one.
Yeah, definitely is a missed call there. We've all been there. Okay, so here we got Gray has possession. We're in the 36th minute of the game, and he takes his time there, and Green's able to pick it off him. And I saw right here, he pulls his shoulder back. You'll see it just slightly right there. He gets his hand on him and pushes him back. I waited a second to see if Green was going to get the advantage and play forward, but they didn't. And so I called it back to give the Green free kick. So we're in the 39th minute of the game. Green's got the ball here. He's taking a touch forward, and it's a 50-50 at first. I wasn't going to call the first one right here, but just after the 50-50, he sticks his foot out right there. You can see it again, and clips him.
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, and so immediately I call it, and he's saying, what? And I'm explaining to him, I'm shaking my head saying, look, you're already on a yellow. You got to be careful, right? I know you stuck your foot out again. So 42nd minute of the game, there's a through ball here to Green. And you can see I'm a bit obstructed behind him, and my perspective was it bounced up and hit his hand. And that was the reason that I called that one there. But we can clearly see when slowed down here, hits him in the chest. And
you can kind of see not only would his body have been in your way, but you also had this other player directly in your path. So
Yeah.
That's really hard to see. Plus, you look and you see his arm out like this, and so.
And I think it's a note to refs to do your. I do my best to be in the as close to the ball as possible, as often as possible. But you want to be able to read the game to really be as close as possible to get those calls right. So definitely a miss on my end.
That ended up being the final decision of the first half. There was a goal that was scored, so going into halftime, Green was winning 2-1.
So the halftime whistle was just blown here, and the keeper's coming over to ask me about that call that we had earlier where he jumped up and was pushed. And so I was just explaining my point of view on it, where the player was coming up without looking at him. But as we reflected earlier, and we said it definitely could have been a yellow card that was given for the foul. I mean, there's me just explaining what I saw. And then also during the halftime, the coach came up to talk to me about that yellow card where his player scissored. And it was the Granite Bay coach that came up and was asking, like, hey, look, is it the next foul he's going to get a card? And I was explaining that it's not the next foul he does, it's the next yellow card foul he does that he's going to get a yellow. All right, so this next one here in the second half is a good one for parents. 55th minute is a pop-up to Green here. And from the parent point of view, it's going to look like he's going right through his back and he's hitting him in the back. But from my point of view on the other side here, you can see if you slow it down that he's missing it right there. The gray guy gets around him.
He's jumping in front of him, isn't he?
The gray guy gets around him and misses the ball by a couple inches here. And that was the reason that I didn't call anything here. Yep. And even if you click play here, there's not really any complaints for a foul.
Yeah, he knows. He's just playing. So. And it was interesting here. We're 10 minutes into the second half before the first decision. So it started off pretty chill.
Pretty nice, clean game at the start of the second half.
At that moment.
Yeah. So same minute, we spoke too soon. Right away here, Green's going to get a not so good touch, and Gray's going to beat him to the ball, and Green's going to stick up his foot there, get no contact on the ball, and just smack the Gray player right there. Bang! Down. And it was a nice start to the second half, but this is the first really harsh foul, and I'm going to book him for this. I know, I was explaining to him, look, I know it wasn't a dirty foul, but he was nowhere near the ball.
Yeah. A couple minutes after that yellow card, we have an offside call that's about as straightforward as they come. We've got this Green attacker on a sprint, and unfortunately for him, his teammate takes a split second too long to send it to him. If he sends it there, he's good, but instead he takes an extra step. And there's the moment of decision. Actually, I want to give a little bit of kudos to this defender here who's starting to run, and then he realizes he's going to be offside, so he actually makes a high soccer IQ move, stops, draws the offside foul. And
all right, so a bit of time passed. We're now in the 62nd minute here. Green's got a bit of a breakaway, and he gets clipped here. You can see I put my hand up there to give the advantage, but Gray intercepts it. So what I do there is I pull it back, and I give the foul to Green. So next up here, we're in the 63rd minute of the game. Green's going to be on the offense here. He's going to get the ball. And right about here, he loses possession. Gray gives him a little shoulder. It's on the right side of the screen. Right here, a little shoulder by Gray and a push by Green. Yeah. And I can see it. I'm on the left side of the screen there. I see it immediately.
That's a definite escalation in this game. Like, no.
Yeah, it hasn't been too rough this second half until this point. Not too bad. And then here, from my point of view, if we go forward a couple seconds, I pull them both in to talk to them. This didn't warrant a yellow card to both of them in my eyes because it was a bit of pushing on both ends. It just warranted a talking.
And I feel like in this one, since they were both going at it, you could yellow card them both. And I don't think if you did, it would be wrong. But I also don't think it's wrong to just pull them in the powwow and just say, guys, like, come on. Yeah. Like, what are we doing here? Let us know in the comments if you think, at the end, should this have been cards? Because particularly when we get to the end and this game does escalate. But
yeah, stick to the end. It'll be interesting.
At this moment, I think this is the right call.
67th minute of the game here. Gray's got the ball. He's going to take a touch forward and then get clipped there by Green and pulls him down. Wasn't too much arguing. I blew the whistle pretty quick for the foul here for Gray. So we're in the Green's defensive half here, and Green's going to go ahead and try and clear it in the 68th minute and just gets pushed over. Now, you could argue for a potential yellow here, but I didn't see any arm extension, a bit of shoulder to shoulder, but he has his foot, 1 foot off the ground, 1 foot on the ground, and so I just gave the foul here.
I agree. I think it looks worse here than it really was, just because that green player's coming up and he's trying to clear the ball, right?
Already off balance.
So he's already off balance. He's already sending it up, and then just the slightest contact sends him down. So if there had been some more arm extension, obviously the fouls are getting a little bit harder here as we've gone, but he didn't
Yeah, and I always talk to him. So I'm talking to the gray player right here, saying, "Hey, look, calm down, be smart."
Yeah.
So 69th minute of the game here. Green's got a throw in on the offensive half here. Gray lunges to get it, hits his hand, and everyone pretty quickly sees it was a handball. So I called a handball. My AR even flagged it here, and from my point of view, it was a pretty straightforward call.
About 3 minutes later, we've got Green going into the penalty area on an attack here. The guy's kind of on his own, like 1-on-4 here without much backup. But he comes around, sees that he's about to lose the ball, and then it looks like he almost gets either he's trying to get him in a headlock or he pulls it over, but it looked like a pull. What did you see on the field?
Yeah, from my point of view, it was pretty similar. I think it was pretty obvious. It was a pullback, got his arm all the way around him. At first, he was pulling him a bit, trying to get the ball. And then it was clear he was on his back and all over him. And so 73rd minute of the game here. We got Gray has possession here. He's going to take a touch, and Green's going to come in super late, foul him. It's a pretty obvious foul here. And what I do here is I'm playing advantage.
You see him breakaway, 22.
Yeah, it's a quick breakaway. Gray's got the ball, and I'm not going to pull it back at this point because they've had the opportunity to play the advantage. They didn't play it well. Yeah. And then you'll see me here coming over to talk to 13. To say, look, you got to be careful, right? We're no more stupid fouls or else more cards are going to come out. So 79th minute of the match, we got a through ball to the Gray offense here on the left side of your screen. And it's going to look like he controls it with his chest if you look really quickly. But when you slow it down, I call the handball here because from my point of view, his left arm tucks in here and he catches it right there with not only his chest but his left arm. And so that was the reason for why I called handball.
I'll tell you, when I was watching this video first, just finding the decision points, I first thought that this was wrong. But with slow motion, you can see his arm, it even goes out. Normally you'd expect him to be like tucking that arm away if they're truly trying to avoid it. Instead, he's kind of out and he gets kind of caught.
Or even bringing it higher to try and chest it down.
Move it down, yeah.
So in the 81st second of the game here, Gray's going to beat Green to the ball here. Just a little bit of a late clip there, and it was a pretty obvious foul for Gray there. They're going to get the ball. He caught his...
So here, I noticed this as I was watching the game. On this restart, so it takes a little bit, that player gets up, goes off. Now you're needing to get into the next phase of play, right? You know the ball is going to be kicked into the penalty area, so you need to get closer to there. You kind of look back and you see, okay, the ball is where you want it. This player is kind of walking away. And then as soon as you turn around, this player turns and comes back in. Yep. Now, I think he saw one of the white players move the ball up half a yard or something, and he decides he's going to be cheeky and put it back in the position. At the end of the day, that half yard probably doesn't make any difference, That ends up leading to these players start doing this, and right now they're having a discussion. They're kind of, even starting to bow up to each other a little bit here, and now I notice that neither you nor your assistant referee were looking at this. It'd be helpful here if your assistant referee had a little bit more of an eye on the wider field. He's walking down to his position, but he turned his back on this.
Yeah, I could have even taken a more of a sideways approach backwards instead of just turning my back on it. I think my point of view there was I thought they were going to get the ball down and do a crossover, so I was getting into position, but it's noted that sometimes you got to keep your eye on both sides of the field.
And I don't think there's any deductions here, but it's more of just a learning opportunity, particularly in these games that are getting more heated as it goes on, that this kind of stuff behind you. Luckily, I don't think this actually turns into anything. They eventually, you finally do turn around and you tell them, get back.
Get back. Come on.
What are you doing? What are you doing, man?
So a couple minutes later in the 84th minute, Green's got a breakaway here. And Gray's going to clip him here, and I'm going to blow the whistle and go to my book real quick and pull out my yellow card. And the reason for that I gave the card here was my eyes. It wasn't a horrible, reckless foul, but it was stopping of a advantageous play.
I think the SPA call there is 100% correct. and you do a good job of coming in. You've already got the card out.
Yeah, it's real quick.
Yeah,
and one thing even for myself I realize is I need sometimes when I give cards I'm like this, I need to be more
maybe more straight up in
well, that's one thing I've realized watching these clips and reflecting.
Now the moment we've all been waiting for.
Yes, the 89th minute of the game's almost over. Right in front on the right side of your screen here you can see green number 30 and I think it's number 4 on gray. He's going to jump up for a header, give him a little push in the back. Wasn't anything really to warrant any fouls or anything.
I don't see anything there. Yeah. It looks kind of 50-50 to me.
Yeah, and then the ball gets right here, just gets kicked over for a goal kick. Nothing too crazy. And then
he's complaining to you.
Green's coming over to complain to me, say, look, I got pushed here, and as you can see over on the right side, it's a bit hard to see because the camera, but the gray player right there is saying, look, this guy's been calling me names all game.
And that's the same player who they just bumped.
Yes.
And so they've been going at each other a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, and so he's come to me saying he's been calling me names, and I say, look, I'll watch out for it, but I can only call what I see. And at this point, he was very frustrated, called the green player the B word, and right there is what he said it, and he's pointing it out, and I say, okay, look, I got to book you at this point, right? You can't do that. From there,
so now let's talk about like if he called him a name there, you got to decide red or yellow. So what was your kind of thought process?
So my thought process there is 89th minute of the game, they're down a goal. He's come to me trying to explain his frustration about being called the term that could be deemed racist the whole game, which I haven't heard, and that was a bit of him letting off the anger. So to give a red card for that, in my opinion, is a bit harsh. And so there's a little push there. We could see it.
And back it up.
Right, yeah, right. His teammate comes in, gives him a nice little push in the back, and I see it, and I see it right there. Yep. And I say, hey, look, back off, Gray. I was trying to say, look, there's no point. It's the end of the game. What are you doing? And so at this point, I believe I called the ball to get kicked in, and I'm gonna call the game just about right here.
And we see him's playing. He's doing something there.
Yeah. So the gray player on the far right has glasses on, and the green player right there is taunting him, saying, "Oh, you're wearing glasses," kind of thing like that.
Right.
And so I'm gonna call the game right here, and I call the game, and you're gonna see right there, right about here, green. Yeah, the green player right there is running and pointing and taunting a bit as I'm blowing the last whistle, and the gray player is gonna charge him. Right there, boom. Another bit of kicks and punches thrown, and all heck breaks loose between all the players. A lot to unpack here.
Yeah, crazy going on here. You see punches being thrown.
I usually do my best to try and break up a fight, but this is a bit out of my control here.
Yeah, some parents on the field breaking things up. Yeah, players pulling each other off, trying to get everything. Yeah, this is crazy. Like if I back this up, they were obviously jawing at each other. Yeah. Full on. There's an attempt to strike. Quite a bit of lots of throwing here. Many players coming on. You see full on. There's some wailing.
Yeah.
Keepers come in, pulling a guy off. If we watch them, pulls a guy off. Now he gets full on cold cocked, right? Then he tries to punch back, right? Meantime,
all this other stuff
happening. That is just crazy.
The frustrating part is this wasn't even the dirtiest game I've read. This was not a bad game that I thought was going to end explosively like this.
Wow. So lots happening there, and they eventually it all kind of breaks up here. Coaches out there trying to get it all chilled out, right? Trying to get everybody to go back to their respective sides. So that goes on for a while. They kind of eventually players go to their side. It looks like you guys as the referee crew and the coaches end up having a powwow. So
yeah, we're trying to. Both coaches are a bit frustrated at the situation. I'm explaining that look, you're gonna have to give me a minute. I got to talk to both my ARs to fully understand the situation because I only saw what I saw. I got to get what they saw to fully make our decisions.
Yeah, you guys talk for several minutes here, and then. Ultimately, what was it like? Five yellow or 5 red cards to the gray team, 2 to the green.
Yes, from what we saw at that time.
It's so hard to capture everything. I mean, you don't have the benefit of the video here when you guys have to do that, and
in real time as a ref, it's you're used to making quick decisions, but that's a different kind of explosive situation. And the one piece of advice I give if you're in a situation like this is take a breath. As soon as it's happening, just try and take a breath and try and take in as much as you can to try and be able to decipher it later.
I give kudos to you guys for even capturing it as well as you did in this.
We did our best. I mean, the thing that was really tricky to us was trying to understand where we went wrong in the build up to this,
Right.
because it seemed like a fairly controlled game. It wasn't too outside of the control where there was a ton of red cards coming out or anything, and
Right.
it's just a bit frustrating at the end with the mass confrontation.
So I'll be honest with you, with the rules of the channel and how we normally make decisions, I'm not exactly sure how to score this because there's just so many cards at the very end. So I think what we'll do is we'll say one decision for the correct, like no call when those players bumped each other. Another correct decision to yellow card the player for the verbal there. And then I don't really know what to do with all of those, with the 7 red cards at the very end.
Yeah.
So how about we just give you, we'll just tack on 3 decisions there for the fact that red cards were given.
Yeah, so you could even just go 2 for that because it was just so much.
It was just so much. So now with that game kind of, fully reviewed, I will tell you, when I first heard about this game, I expected to watch it and see a steady progression of escalation. And in all honesty, I mean, we see the temperature go up and no differently than you see in many games like this, right? I'm wondering, do you, reflecting on this game, do you feel like, was there any of those decisions in those final few minutes that you feel like, or even earlier in the game, that led up to that? Or do you feel like it was kind of like there was just that taunting there at the end and those players snapped?
I think it was definitely at the end. One thing reflecting is I could have given the green player a yellow card for a bit of the taunting he did. My thought process at the end was to blow the whistle just to try and end it, finish the taunting, finish everything, and it blew up from there. But overall, in the overall game, there might have been 1 or 2 calls that I might have changed, like with the keeper jumping, and 1 other 2 calls, but nothing that I think I could have really changed that would have stopped this escalation at the end.
It's hard because you're already ending the game. You're never expecting a player to bum rush them and then a full melee at the end.
My thought process was end the game and the small confrontation that was going on, but it did not go the way I thought it was going to at the end there.
So let's check out how our final Sapper score turned out. So with 44 decisions and 4 deductions, that gives this game a final Sapper score of 90.9%. Per the rules of the channel, that's a good game from a referee perspective. Now, obviously, when you have a mass confrontation, you probably never walk off the field feeling like it's a good game.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting game overall. I was very, up until the 89th minute, I was pretty happy with the way the game was flowing, the calls and everything. From there, it obviously changed a bit. But it's definitely been an interesting experience reflecting on and watching yourself ref and getting to see what it is you can improve on and where it is that you fell short throughout the game.
Let us know in the comments if you think there was something else that could have or should have been handled differently, throughout this game or at the end to manage that and maybe prevent it in the future. But sometimes the game happens the way it happens.
Yep.
But thanks for joining us for this very interesting episode, and thank you, Nathan, for taking the time to come in and do your own game review. But join us back here for our next upload. But I'm Scott.
And I'm Nathan.
And we'll see you out on the pitch.
This should be interesting. I've never done something like this, so
we'll see if you regret your life choices.
Exactly. It's like nerve-wracking watching yourself,
Okay.
Especially at like this level of this age group and everything.
And for the history that these two teams have. I mean,
which I didn't know about prior.
I wish the assigners would tell us that more. It's funny with this Granite Bay. They talk like all these bad things happen to them and they don't know why. And I'm like, your team's not the cleanest team.
No, they're a rough physical team, yeah.
Right. Like maybe, when you're the team like who's getting in fights with all the other teams, maybe it's not all the other teams that's the problem.
Yeah.
My favorite part about this is these 2 players right here who are on the same team. They're together. Oh, punch. Oh. Oh shit.
I think he was pulling him back. I think he was pulling him back, trying to tell him not to fight.